Роднічки, всім доброго дня. Сьогодні п'ятниця, гарна погода і гарний день сказати про те, що я хочу залишити всі свої пояси, якими я сьогодні володію, зробити їх вільними, щоб хлопці, які стоять в черзі, за ними боксували. Друзі, я залишаю пояси, але я не йду зі спорту, тому що у мене є last dance. Всім хочу подякувати, з повагою відношусь до всіх організацій, хочу всім подякувати і сказати далі більше. Слава Богу за все, слава Україні!
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Oleksandr Usyk has just dropped a major bombshell announcement stating that he will be vacating his 3 world titles, as well as the fact that he will be having one last fight before retirement. Now, a lot to break down here. What's going to happen to his belts? Who's the last fight going to be for Oleksandr Usyk? And is this the right decision? Because it's a massive decision to make, not only retirement, but to have this last fight before retirement, especially the way in which that fight against Rico Verhoeven went. And, you know, people have different opinions on Rico Verhoeven. We all know he's a very, very good combat sports athlete, but at the end of the day, he was a kickboxer and gave Oleksandr Usyk everything he could have handled. And Oleksandr Usyk did get out of jail free on that occasion. Will that happen again against somebody that might be Rico Verhoeven or might be a world-class boxer? So we're going to have to wait and see. But let's first talk about these belts. Now, he's going to be vacating the IBF, the WBA, and the WBC belt. Who are they going to go to? Who's going to fight for these belts? Now, the IBF, Frank Sanchez just won a title eliminator against Richard Torres Jr. in emphatic fashion, round 2 knockout. So Frank Sanchez will be in that title fight. His opponent, number 2, is vacant. Number 3 is Itauma, and number 4 is Hrgovic. And of course, Itauma is taking on Filip Hrgovic. So there's a good chance that the winner of that fight will be taking on Frank Sanchez for that world title. The WBC, Ajit Kabayel, the long-standing interim champion. He's been interim since he beat Zhili Zhang in February of 2025. So it's going to be Ajit Kabayel. Now, number 1 contender is Tyson Fury, followed by Lawrence Okoli and Moses Itauma. The other one that I put in there, he's a little bit further away, but Rico Verhoeven is number 8. And Rico Verhoeven last fought for that world title, and Rico Verhoeven is somebody that's trying to call for another opportunity at that world title. So I wouldn't rule out his name. And you know what? The way the WBC sometimes run things, I wouldn't rule out Rico Verhoeven, even though he's number 8, being in that title fight. But Ajit Kabayel, for me, he either gets promoted or, the way I prefer it, you go and fight for it. I hate when people get promoted to it, a bit like Fabio Wardley got promoted to that world title. I think you should at least face somebody to win that world title. So it'll be Ajit Kabayel for me against one of those names. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they gave it to Tyson Fury, because Tyson Fury, I'd probably prefer to see Tyson Fury in it than Lawrence Okoli. Not that I have anything against Lawrence Okoli. I think Tyson Fury is the one that they're probably going to give it to. I think it's the bigger name. It's the bigger fight. It's the bigger occasion. Moses Itauma, I don't think he's going to be contending for all of these belts straight away, but money does talk. And like I said, I think Rico Verhoeven's definitely in the conversation. And the WBA, Murat Gassiev is the WBA regular champion. He's facing Tony Yoka next month. Moses Itauma is number 1. Jarrell Miller is number 2. Tyson Fury is number 3. And Anthony Joshua is number 4. Now, the one thing on Moses Itauma that we also got to remember is Moses Itauma is also the WBO mandatory for, well, Daniel Dubois versus Fabio Wardley 2's winner. So it'll depend on what Moses Itauma's priorities are. Because like I said, he can't be facing all of these guys for all of these world titles. There's people that are above him. There's people that are interim. So he's not going to be able to face them all. But a lot of belts there up for grabs. All right, let's finish this up by talking about what's next for 39-year-old Oleksandr Usyk, his retirement. Is this the right decision for him? For me, I wouldn't have been against him retiring right now. But I think he made it quite clear that he wants to go out on his own terms, on his own grounds. And I don't think he would have been content about that performance against Rico Verhoeven being his final fight, especially with so much controversy around it. Now, the problem with having one last fight is, number 1, your one last fight is probably going to be against a lesser opponent. It's the only way to get through it. There's no way that I think Oleksandr Usyk goes in there if he performs the way he did against Rico Verhoeven and beats Ajit Kabayel. And that's one of the reasons he has vacated these titles. It is so he can pick his last fight, pick an easier fight. you're going to get criticized for that. You're going to get criticized for that. I've already seen online people saying, all right, how do we feel about Oleksandr Usyk ducking Ajit Kabayel? And I get that statement, but the problem with that statement is if Oleksandr Usyk goes and beats Ajit Kabayel, he probably doesn't get the credit that he deserves for it. If he goes and loses from it, all of a sudden this legacy, this legendary career of Oleksandr Usyk has a massive black mark on it. And this one that we're at right now, where he vacates his belt and people are saying that he's ducking Ajit Kabayel. Well, I feel like the people that are saying he's ducking Ajit Kabayel are same people that if Usyk went and fought Ajit Kabayel and lost will be saying, why didn't you just retire? Why did you ruin your career going and face that fight? So I feel like there's never going to be a correct answer. There's never going to be a correct way of doing things. This is Oleksandr Usyk's decision at the end of the day. And for me, I think it's the right one. I think we saw in Oleksandr Usyk that what made him great, what made him so special, has now at 39 years of age left him. What made him that undisputed, unbeatable cruiserweight? What made him this undisputed, unbeatable heavyweight? Every single fighter reaches an age, reaches a fight, reaches an occasion where it's gone. They've lost it. And I think we saw that with Oleksandr Usyk against Rico Verhoeven. Everything that made him special, all right? No, I want to say good, technical, skillful, all that is still there. But what made him special, what made him unbeatable, I think is what was gone in that fight against Rico Verhoeven. There was just something that we all watched and says, what's going on with Oleksandr Usyk? And it's something that we've never said about him in his career. We know he puts the work in. We know he puts the effort in. So to say that he put in all the work, put in all the effort, got there for the occasion, and it was gone, that's that thing that you were missing. And that's the thing that I feel like when he goes and faces someone like Ajit Kabayel, if he were, is the reason he'd lose that fight. So I think it is the right decision. Now, the big question on everybody's mind is who is going to be Oleksandr Usyk's farewell fight? Now, when he was going into that fight against Rico Verhoeven, he did state coming into that fight that his last three fights, because at that point it was last three fights, he was going to take on Rico Verhoeven, he was going to take on the winner of Daniel Dubois versus Fabio Wardley, and then he was going to finish up his career with Greedy Belly Tyson Fury. So that's not going to happen now. He's not going to be taking on Daniel Dubois versus Fabio Wardley winner because they're going to rematch, and then after the rematch, Moses Itaú's got first crack at it. So I don't see that happening. And if you're not going to defend your world titles, you're probably not going to go in there against Daniel Dubois or Fabio Wardley to try and win another. So when I look at the names, Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, or Rico Verhoeven rematch, those are probably the three main names that I look at and say, I think these are the ones that we're picking from. And I think Deontay Wilder, if I was to put my money on it, I'd probably say Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury are the favorites. I don't think you want to go back in there with Rico Verhoeven unless he really wants to prove something to himself. But I think you won by knockout. You just push that aside. You don't go back in there because Rico Verhoeven was unorthodox. He was weird. He was just stylistically a nightmare for Oleksandr Usyk. Tyson Fury, you've been in there with him twice. You've beaten him twice. Tyson Fury is also at an age. I didn't think he looked spectacular against Makhmudov. So that's an option. And finally, Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, the guy that he was originally going to be facing before he took on Rico Verhoeven. And I think that's the fight to make. I think that fight there creates enough interest, creates enough talk, enough buzz. It's a good send-off. It's the fight he wanted, as well as being an easy fight. I didn't see anything in Deontay Wilder in his last few fights. All right, even the one against Derek Chisora that I said, all right, this is Deontay Wilder of old. This is Deontay Wilder that'll really cause you problems. I still don't see it. And Deontay Wilder is old as well. So I think Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury are the two best shouts for Oleksandr Usyk. And I think it'll be one of those two. And I think the fact that he really wanted to face Deontay Wilder is the reason we're going to see it. And I also think it's the easiest fight out of the three. I think Deontay Wilder is easier than Tyson Fury. I think he's easier than Rico Verhoeven. And I think he's easier than any other name that we'd have any interest in seeing him in. Therewith. And to be honest with you, at this point, it's those three names and Ajit Kabayel, and I don't want to see him in there with Ajit Kabayel because I believe that even Oleksandr Usyk knows how that fight is going to go. I think his team knows how that's going to go, and that's the reason for this decision. Now, are we happy with this decision? I'm asking you guys, are you happy with this decision by Oleksandr Usyk? I think it's a risk. I think the name that he picks for his last fight is going to tell me a lot about how I feel about this decision. I think saying one last fight is quite broad. I think you can pick two spectrums of how you have this last fight. A very, very tough fight, a hyped fight, a bad fight. And I think the name will tell us a lot. I think if Oleksandr Usyk comes out and says, I'm going to have my farewell fight against Deontay Wilder in America. It's my final send-off. He's vacated the belt, so he's done what a champion should do. He's not holding up anybody. He's not holding any divisions up. He's not holding any people up, any champions, any interim champions, nobody. No contenders are being held up. So that I do agree with Oleksandr Usyk. And I'm glad that he's just gone and said, have the belts, like he did with Fabio Wardley. If it's Deontay Wilder in America, I'm more than happy to see that fight. I think it's the right decision, and I'm glad that we're going to be seeing Oleksandr Usyk go out on his own terms. I think if he comes out and tries to avenge a win against Rico Verhoeven, I'm going to be seriously questioning that decision because I don't think it is the right decision. I think that chapter should be closed and kept closed because I'm not confident that in a rematch it goes Oleksandr Usyk's way, especially the way that we saw that last one. Like Rico Verhoeven, I know he's old like Oleksandr Usyk. He's been in the sport for a very long time, but he looked the far younger, fresher fighter in there than what Oleksandr Usyk did. All right, guys, I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments below. Who do you think is going to be fighting for those belts? What do you think of Oleksandr Usyk's decision? And who do you think he will choose to fight? Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm out of here, guys. See ya.